Today, we are concentrating on the weathering of the O. In the past two streams, I assembled it and did panel lining. We got some really nice panel lining that's done. I'm going to be doing a bunch of weathering to this today. And we'll see how far we get. We're first starting off with some sponge chipping using German gray. Now I'll be using German gray because it's dark but not too black. Black is also fine, but it's just like near, because we're trying to replicate dirt with this. And we'll use this sponge. I like these sponges because it has just a little bit of density to it, but it's not too dense. And then after that, I will be using the brown 1 pen for rust, along with the shade off marker, also called the Bokashi pen. This usually comes with this set, and it is a marker that just doesn't have any tint to it, so you can dilute this and shade it as you wish. I will also use a yellow 1 marker to do just a little bit of a panel lining shade without doing pure black. And lastly, I will be using probably mud and oil stain to blend the colors together around the chipping. Oh, you know, and then there's one more step actually. I'll use a dry brush on silver. That way I can do last little flakes. This is a common thing I've seen people do. Just gonna get some last. I'm looking at it, just trying to figure out what's the major panel lines that may need a little darkening. So I like this sponge right here, this little tape sponge. This has a nice texture to it. Whenever I do this sort of sponge chipping, I always start with the kit fully together so I can determine like a story. I find if I take it apart first and then sponge chip it, then it ends up being like too much on one side and this looks kind of wrong. So I'll get the major ones down first just to get, I don't need symmetry, I just need consistency. Mr. Kit. It's funny, they sell like actual weird dome sponges now. All I'm after is just kind of a soft edge. Start on the bottom. That's what I did before when I first put the foot together. You can always add more later. And this sponge chipping will be the blueprint for all of the weathering. I guess if I did make a mistake, I could just repaint it yellow. Don't need to rip apart too much. Just the major pieces that will allow me to finish doing the details without getting chipping or paint on other parts. Probably should wear a glove at this point. Come on, leg. Don't break. Phew. That is a nice tight ball joint. Get underneath. Like I just did tapping on top. I want to get underneath there also. Hand is missing on that one. Gets over in that little tray there. Okay, next phase. I'm gonna be using Real Touch Marker Brown 1 and the Bakashi pen. Yeah, I'll go for the thick tip. Be a little bit quick on these because the marker will dry and inhibit the ability to spread it out. If you have the time, I always recommend to top coat it after the initial chipping, because this Bakashi pen will interact with the paint just a bit. Yes. Too much there. Should start with less brown and go thicker as needed. That right there is a little too much. Let me clean it up a little bit. Get a little drippy rust in there. Smells like papers underneath it. In a pack. It comes with a special card for the 3 miniatures. Stuff up for too long. Here we go, next part. I'm using mud from the Weathering Masters Set A. I'm using mud because this is like a light yellow. On normal, darker Gundams, I usually use oil stain. Yeah, this would be too light. I'm using this just to kind of blend in. I'm not going to go too heavy on this. Just a little blend. Like you see these flat areas right here, they're usually kind of plain. You can use this stuff to really give it a little bit of a shape, little Fong shading or grunge shading. If another thing is, once you're doing this step here, you actually need to go a little bit thicker than you think you do, because once you put a top coat on it, it does absorb it. But it's all good because the way it is now is it's different, but it's still lots of good stuff. These vents here, I want to put oil. That feels way thin. This is not right. There we go. I would say this is about 80% done. I do want to do this, but I don't have to. I think it's going to be pretty good the way it is at this point. Let's find out. Yeah, it needs a little bit more mud. Let's see where we're at so far. If I put any more of this on, but that's where this comes in. What this will do, it's a lot of contrast between the yellow and the rust. When I put this on, it will blend it and tone it all down to a nice bin outside look.